Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to host the second session of the Azure Partner Fest organized by Microsoft Singapore. We started last week with a great session together with NetApp, and we have a total of 7 sessions all the way to mid-April. So if you haven't done so, I truly encourage you to register for the upcoming sessions, including next week's sessions on SkyTab and its solution to migrate AS400 applications on the cloud. For today's session, before we start, let me go through some housekeeping rules. So today's session is recorded and will be available on demand. You can submit your question at any time using the Q&A panels on the interface, right? And at the end of the sessions, we'll have 10 minutes to go through all the questions you ask and make sure that we get them answered. Right. Back to our topic of the day. It's my pleasure to introduce LAB3, a true cloud-native company leveraging on the best of Azure capabilities to automate complex workload. When we talk about automation, we often hear about infrastructure as code, sometimes compliance as code, but today we'll really hear about security as code. And for that, we are honored to have 2 speakers from Australia. Anthony, you are Director of Network and Security at LAB3. Nila, you are Partner Technology Strategist at Microsoft. Thanks both for being with us today. It's my pleasure to be there with you. And as Azure user myself, I'm always looking for more agility and more flexibility. So I'm very excited to learn more about Security Insight and how I can better automate my Sentinel deployments and management. Thanks for being there.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's session, LAB3 session on Security Insights, Accelerating Hybrid Visibility using Microsoft Sentinel. I'm Neela Sama, Partner Technical Strategist for LAB3 at Microsoft, and it is my absolute pleasure today to be here and to introduce you to LAB3, my partner, and the amazing Anthony Wales. But before we get started though, I wanted to give you a bit of background on LAB3's journey and how quickly they have become one of our top global ISP partners. So if you could move to the next slide, please. LAB3 was founded just 5 years ago as a startup Azure partner, competing with our entrenched global system integrators in a highly competitive and consolidated market. Today, they are one of our #1 largest MSP partners. Their reach is broad, having delivered projects globally, including Asia, Europe, and the Americas. In fact, in just the last fiscal, LAB3 have done more than 100 deals in 13 countries, and of course, many more in Australia. They've reached this point with 1/5 of the staff of most of our other partners. So what's their secret? They've achieved this because of their world-class automation. They have democratized security and have absolutely embraced our motto of do more with less. LAB3 have delivered in all industry verticals, including financial services, government, healthcare, mining, manufacturing, and utilities. And because of their world-class automation, they have had phenomenal success in all the market segments, including SMC, SMB, as well as the large, complex enterprise organizations. Microsoft has a very strong partnership with LAB3. There is engagement across all levels within the 2 organizations, and they have won multiple partner awards, as you can see on this slide. In terms of their offerings, LAB3 has over 13 products across all practices to support customers at any stage of their cloud transformation journey. Too many of them to go all through them today, but I will mention just 3 solutions: Dr. Migrate, SensorMine, and Security Insights. Dr. Migrate is LAB3's flagship solution, and is actually one of the solutions that Microsoft uses worldwide for our solution assessments. SensorMine, LAB3's IoT accelerator solution, provides predictive maintenance, ensuring data-driven decisions can be made at the right time. And Security Insights, which is what we're going to spend the rest of today talking about. Security Insights allows for the development of Azure Sentinel in minutes, not months. leveraging Azure Sentinel's automation. So I'm going to hand over to Anthony, who will show you how Azure Security Insight solution can secure your entire digital ecosystem, regardless of whether they're on-premises, sensors, mobile devices, and much, much more. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. Hi there. I'm Anthony Wales, the Director for Network and Security here at LAB3. And going through the agenda today, some of the different topics that we're looking to go through are such as why we're all here today. So if you can just go to the next slide, please. What do our clients look like? How this extends Sentinel beyond security events? What a contemporary SOC can look like? I'd like to give you a short little bit of a demo to actually show you how simple this really is and what's next as well. Next slide, please. So why are we all here? So I think just to kind of summarize it very quickly, security is hard. And it's also hard to get a lot of expertise in this particular area to be able to assist with these particular problems. And what are some of those problems? Well, we want to get ahead of the threats. The last thing is you don't want to identify something and go, hey, cool, we're going to fix this by doing X. You know, we want to be able to get ahead of the threats so they don't happen to you and obviously can keep your company safe. We want to be able to reduce response time. So, you know, you hear all these stories about, you know, people who have been infected for potentially maybe a few months or maybe a few quarters. You know, how can you reduce that response time to help reduce the impact of these particular threats as well? We want to be able to increase collaboration within the ecosystem. So how can you start to make all of your tools play nice with one another rather than have a lot of friction between one another, which can make it a little bit more challenging to be able to do your day-to-day. And then lastly, you know, how can you actually increase the ongoing security posture of your company, right? Whether that be through understanding visibility of, you know, where your strengths and weaknesses are to know how to improve, or just being able to respond better, quicker, faster, stronger as well. Now, two of the different areas of where we actually do this is through the use of Security Insight. And you're going to start to hear us talk a lot about this. This is a product that LAB3 has and we sell to our customers to be able to quickly perform lifecycle management of Microsoft Sentinel, which is really the heart of a lot of the Microsoft security suite. But I think one of the big lessons I want you all to learn in this call is that this is not a Microsoft security only solution. This can help incorporate all of your hybrid security, multi-cloud, etc., and bring it all into one ecosystem to be able to make your jobs a lot easier and better as well. Next slide, please. So really having a look at what's going on around the world, it's no surprise to explain to a lot of people that, hey, everyone's digital estate is growing. And this presents a lot of new opportunities, but also difficulties for some companies where, hey, cool, you're trying to get ahead of the competition, you're doing cool new things with data, you're building automation, this is great, it's helping your business move forward. But hey, you're also now actually increasing your attack surface area and you've got more things to protect. And how do you make sure that your cloud teams are building things in the right way? And next slide, please. And what this is leading to customers is that it's actually increasing the amount of security data that they're seeing. And it's quite difficult to fill those particular roles to watch those particular security events. And it's also pretty hard to be able to respond to all those alerts, which are ever growing, right? It's not like they're reducing because, hey, the environment that you're protecting is increasing as well. These are the problems that we see with a lot of our customers at the moment, really in regards to what's happening in security and really kind of, yes, with the small teams, what they're kind of feeling. Next slide, please. So when we talk about what our clients look like, we have three kind of categories where we have the customers who have a lot of cool tools. They might have, you know, Defender for Endpoint, and they might have a lot of different other cool security tools, which are being in use to protect their environment, which is great. But every tool has a different portal, different way of being able to manage it. Another thing you have to look at, and you can kind of see on the picture on the left, right? It's almost like you have all these tabs open in your browser, but you're trying to kind of watch them all at once in order to stay ahead of the game. You then have the middle one, where some customers may have a traditional SIEM, where they manage it on-prem. It's kind of like a database. They see all the logs coming in, which is really good. But in order to stay secure, they still need someone to be able to water and feed it to make sure that the SIEM itself stays happy, working, and still ingesting everything all good. There's still quite a lot of extra activity that's required, which unfortunately for some of maybe the smaller customers and even some of the larger customers just might not be attainable. It just might be too much work, and really what happens then is that if they don't have the time to be able to perform those activities, it starts to degrade. And then on the right-hand side, we have the customers who have maybe gone down the path of having a cloud SIEM, which is great. That's really what we're going to be talking about today. But again, it still requires a little bit of effort, maybe not as much, but still a little bit of effort to be able to kind of water feed it. They've implemented the basic configurations. They have the integrations with maybe the native out-of-the-box stuff, but hey, they don't have visibility of the true end-to-end of their enterprise. So they don't have the time to be able to provide that time, love, and care as well. Next slide, please. So where does this leave everyone? So I'm sure for a lot of the people on the call, Microsoft Sentinel, you won't be unfamiliar with. I'm sure that you're Microsoft rep, or you've been a bit curious yourself, you've tried it out, and you've kind of seen the potential of what Microsoft Sentinel can provide. And the 4 core areas of what Microsoft Sentinel does provide is that it enables you to be able to have that SIEM experience, light touch, so you don't need to manage it, you don't need to update or patch it, as in the infrastructure and the software itself, at least. And you can have that flexibility of the cloud, so again, you don't need to worry about adding or reducing capacity. You can also detect evolving threats, so you have that flexibility where Microsoft and even internally, you'll be able to add your own analytic rules. You can use AI technologies to be able to do cool stuff, to be able to detect evolving and more complex threats. You also can expedite the incident response by leveraging SOAR, which I'm sure a few of you guys have heard of, but not many have dealt with, which is, hey, you've got an incident or alert. How can you automatically investigate and respond to that particular alert to reduce the noise and effort required by your internal team? And then lastly, all 3 of these things leads to you getting ahead of the attackers, because you're not so distracted by all of the noise and all of the fuss around all of your different security tools, which I'm sure are doing great jobs. You're able to really focus in on those really important things where you can start to detect, to go, hey, we've got a lot of people knocking on the front door of this firewall. How do we get ahead of that?
So Anthony, how long does it take for you to deploy Sentinel again? That's a really cool piece that it might be good to know.
So, great question. So for us to deploy Sentinel, the average time is 3 minutes, which is super, super quick. And if you just click one more time, please, you'll actually be able to see all of the features that we implement. So everything from your native integrations, your syslog and Ceph integrations, your implementing analytic rules, your watch lists, your ITSM, etc. All of this is actually deployed within just a few minutes. And I really want to highlight that here, because I'm sure a lot of the people on the call have tried to implement a SIEM before. Maybe you guys have tried Sentinel as well, and you've gone, awesome, I can see all the data coming in, that's great. But how do I extend that to hybrid cloud? How do I get the additional visibility? How do I get the automated response? And it can be a little bit laborious and sometimes weeks or months to be able to perform that. So for LAB3 to actually be able to deploy these particular services, it can be really, really quick, which is awesome. One click, please. The secret to all of this is how we use Security Insight. And the big thing here, sorry, another click, please. You can actually see that we have 4 core components. And this was actually built out of necessity. So one of LAB3's core ethos is for automating pretty much everything, which is great. And we do that via DevOps, so we can have that all there. Then we can also be able to make sure that customers have retained the data and the IP within their tenant. Now, this is actually a really key part here, because it goes against the very much of the traditional models of actually being able to provide MSSP and SOC experiences for customers. And let me dive a little bit into more detail of that. By leveraging Security Insight, it has enabled LAB3, our customers, our partners, to be able to deploy and provide ongoing management services at scale of Microsoft Sentinel, all within the customer's tenant. So never does the data leave their environment. All the IP stays within, so all the rules, all the tools, all the investigation stuff stays within their environment. And what makes that possible is leveraging the automation provided by Security Insight. And that's all deployed via the customer's DevOps pipeline. We understand that it's not just about deploying the environment that's important, but of course, hey, we're all here to understand how do we respond to it and how do we reduce the amount of effort required to be able to protect these environments. And that part comes in regards to how we apply our threat intelligence to do two things. One is to be able to detect emerging threats, so we can see who's knocking on the front door. And the other part is to be able to perform those automated responses with our SOAR engine, again, or hosted within the customer's environment. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but in short, it enables us to be able to go, hey, we've seen this particular kind of alert. Hey, does Fred normally go to this particular IP address? Is it good? It'll then use our threat intelligence to be able to identify that. And then the last part, which is beneficial here, as I kind of alluded at the start, is that it not just deploys the Sentinel environment in the customer's tenant, but it also performs ongoing lifecycle management, including updates and patches for all the new great features provided by Microsoft. And just to come back to Neela's question at the very start, which was, hey, how long does it take to be able to deploy this? This is all done in 3 minutes, including those hybrid integrations, which is really, really good. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Thanks. So Anthony, thanks for that. That was great clarification. I guess now that you've explained all that, how much time, now that you can deploy it so quickly, how much does this save and give you time for the responses?
Yeah, great question, Neela. The one thing that's really important to us is two things. One, reducing the response time to reduce the noise. And the other part is ideally not having to wake the customer up at 2 in the morning. And being able to leverage that SOAR engine, that actually reduces the response time from sometimes 15 or 30 minutes, depending and assuming that you have people watching eyes on glass, all the way down to under a minute. And what I mean by that is the SOAR engine is able to work to be able to go, hey, what are the steps that we need to do to investigate this particular type of incident? It will provide those particular reports within Sentinel for the customer. And if required, it could perform those containment and remediation activities as well, all through automation. And just to reiterate, this is not just for the Microsoft security services or natively integrated services. This is truly hybrid across into multi-cloud and even onto on-prem. And one of the things here is that I want to demonstrate that Sentinel is not just a tool that manages security events. We can really extend across beyond the normal perceived capabilities of the SIEM which Microsoft provides. And examples of that, again, is regarding the automation that we've spoken a little bit about before, which is all deployed very, very quickly. It can also provide ongoing security posture management. So it can actually show you, hey, why are your incidents trending in a particular way? And hey, which technology services? And even provide you recommendations on how to resolve it as well, which is really cool. Vulnerability management, so it can help highlight, hey, these are particular areas that you need to look at, whether that be for a high CVE rating or even showing you the particular owner, which you might need to get in contact to be able to resolve it. And then lastly, as I said, hybrid ready. So this can help you extend your visibility across into AWS, Google, on-prem, your hybrid security services as well. They can all be ingested into Sentinel or through that automation that we're talking about beforehand, all in minutes, which is great. Next slide, please. I've spoken a lot about automation, and I've also spoken a little bit about how this is performed within the customer's environment. Now, just one of the things I want to highlight is that this is all done using very, very simple code. You don't need to be a DevOps expert here. And what I mean by that is that when we work with customers, we go through a bit of a consulting phase, which we outline, okay, what are the different services that you want to integrate? What are the problems that you have? What are your regulatory requirements, etc.? And essentially our customers provide us with a bit of a shopping list, and they'll go, cool, I got Azure AD, I got Azure Key Vault, Defender for Cloud, maybe CrowdStrike or AWS, etc. Check, 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 check. And inside of those, Security Insight has modules, which contains everything from how to connect to those particular services, the rules that should be monitored, the automated activities that should be performed after for that automated response, and more, such as watch lists, hunting rules, and even dashboards as well. So very, very easy. Customers are able to go, cool, I'm on A, B, C, D, E, and then they click a button, and then within a few minutes, it's deployed in their environment as well. And you might be thinking, but hey, surely everyone's environment is not the same to one another. What if I have slightly more strict requirements and I need it to be more sensitive or less sensitive, etc.? That's no problem. You're actually able to help customize by passing in particular parameters to be able to go, cool, maybe we will have an acceptable tolerance at X versus Y, etc., to really customize it based on your unique requirements as well. And yes, definitely, if you want to be able to add in your own rules or own functions beyond that, it's fully capable of that too as well. So really this platform is here to help accelerate customers to be able to onboard and also be able to perform that ongoing management of those services. Now, you might be thinking, hey, how do we perform those particular updates? We perform those updates really just by rerunning that pipeline as well. So it's super, super simple. So in summary, at a very, very high level, Security Insight is able to accelerate your delivery. And I'm not just talking about turning on all those native integrations, which I'm sure everyone on the call has done. They've clicked a few buttons and they're going, cool, I can see stuff, but hey, how does this help me? But it goes beyond that by integrating those hybrid and custom data sources, whether that be your on-prem, in the cloud. Hey, the other day we integrated an AS400 for one of our finance customers. And hey, maybe that's a great segue for the next presentation I heard, which is migrating AS400 apps across. And integrating into your ITSM. So things like your ServiceNow or your Jira. How do you have that end-to-end service management, which is in compliance to your regulatory requirements? How do you have visibility into what entities are causing what incidents? So we map those things. So your usernames, your host names, etc. Not just on the Microsoft sources, but even on the hybrid sources. Again, so you can very quickly search that in the need when you're actually going to perform an investigation. Automated responses, your security posture dashboard. So how can you visibly see what's going on? Again, that's all included. And then lastly, one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, and Neela will know that I normally talk a lot more about it, is actually how this is all certified as well. So LAB3 itself is both IRAP, so for the ISM for Australia, NZ ISM for New Zealand, and also ISO 27001 certified. And not just as a company ourselves, but this solution is as well. So when we actually deploy this within our customer's environment, that particular solution has the tick of approval as well. And that's really enabled us to be able to very quickly onboard in some of the more highly regulated industries, but also uplift maybe a lot of customers who may not typically be able to afford that level of security. Again, it's available to them for that lower price as well. Overall, this is all deployed within 6 weeks. And you might be like, but Anthony, I thought that this only takes minutes to deploy. You are right. Really what this means is that when you go, hey, Anthony, we want to proceed with this. This is great. We spend 2 weeks with you to go through the architecture to make sure that we have all of the different unique requirements that you might have so it can be customized. And then it takes 2 minutes. And then typically there's another few weeks after that where we can tune it as well. Because look, maybe it was a little bit too sensitive or not sensitive enough. We make sure that it's going to have that last tick as well, which really demonstrates the flexibility that's available for our customers, both pre and post delivery as well. Next slide, please. So I've spoken a bit about how this is delivered, but again, how can this help you from the response section? So Security Insight is actually embedded into the Microsoft Security Fabric. And what this means is that we're able to apply intelligence, not just from a reactive perspective, but also a proactive. And let me run you through a few scenarios about how this works. So traditionally, when you provide threat intelligence into an environment, it will just go, hey, Neela, we've seen that there's an incident. Hey, it could be associated to X. And then you go, yeah, but how has this helped me? And it goes, well, it hasn't. The event has happened. It's associated to X. So it's kind of useful because you know what the root cause was, but it's not so useful because, hey, the bad thing's already happened. In this circumstance, what it's able to do is, yes, it can still do that, which can be good sometimes, but it's actually able to dynamically block those particular incidents across that Microsoft Security Fabric as well. So say, for example, in our threat intelligence, it has things like Tor exit nodes and known bad organizations, associations for IPs, etc. So we're actually able to dynamically block that across the whole Microsoft security fabric before it happens. And you'll still get an alert, but it will say, hey, X action was blocked because it was known bad. Would you like to proceed with this? In addition to that, it's also able to integrate in order to identify evolving threats. So again, who's knocking at the front door? Who's doing your IP scans? Is it associated with any bad organization? Is it more than what we would typically expect? And then lastly, the other really cool thing is that it's actually integrated into the automated response. Now, how it's done that is that as you go through your response process, you'll be familiar with double checking to find out, hey, are these IP addresses or these entities associated with anything bad? Hey, cool, you can actually send it to LAB3, our threat intelligence, which will provide us back a response, which will say, hey, we've done a scan, hey, we've done a check, hey, we've done all these particular activities for you through automation. Don't worry, it's all good. Really, really reducing the response time and also reducing the amount of effort and reliance on the SOC team for those level 1 activities as well. Next slide, please.
So Anthony, that's great. Is this just for deployment? What happens afterwards, after you've done that deployment piece?
Yeah, great question. So yes, this really does help out the deployment, but I'm hoping what you're starting to gather is that this actually more helps out the ongoing effort to support the system and respond with the system, both in the way that it's able to automatically update and add those new features from Microsoft. So don't worry, your team don't need to be the ones trying to work out what's going on. We can provide updates and patches to be able to do that as well. But also it's actually able to reduce the effort required to be able to respond to these particular incidents too. So again, your team can more focus not on the 100 level 1 alerts, but more so on the 3 or 4 very concerning high priority alerts as well. So yes, this can very much help out the deployment, but really where our customers receive most benefit is actually from the operational gains, which can be presented on the ongoing term as well. And what you can actually see here is a bit of a high level view of how everything all holds together. Everything from a little bit of a sneak peek of some of our catalog, where you can see, hey, look, a few custom applications, infrastructure services, security services. Again, it's not just Microsoft. Sorry, Microsoft, I know we're on a Microsoft call, but hey, you can integrate into all your hybrid services as well, your on-prem, multi-cloud as well, which you might be protecting, non-Microsoft security services, even just applications. And again, through that catalog that I referred to you beforehand, you go check, 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 check. And then within 3 minutes, it's deployed in your environment and also can perform those automated updates, which is really, really cool. This also integrates into things like your ServiceNow. So again, or Jira or other ITIL, ITSM service in order to be able to help do your full end-to-end. And just to really reiterate the point, this is all done within your environment under your control. And if in the future you go, you know what, LAB3, we love this is great, but hey, we want to self-manage it ourselves, that's fine. You keep all the IP, everything stays in your environment, it's yours, right? Another really cool fact about this is that we've been very, very busy, as I'm sure Neela and the rest of the Microsoft team are very aware, and we've actually been fortunate enough to have over 50 plus successful enterprise and government deployments just in the last 12 months. And this is really a testament to, well, A, they're really difficult customers, but B, really showing the alliance to be able to show, hey, how we can get the big picture into the customers, how we can do it very, very quickly as well, but most importantly, how they retain in control of the IP and the data at the end. That's what we really see as important. Next slide, please. What this enables us or our partners to be able to provide is essentially a security operations center, but a contemporary one. And this enables them to be able to integrate things from a variety of different workplace environments, a variety of different multi-cloud environments, and even hybrid. We have many customers, whether they be from critical infrastructure, mining, energy, utility, etc., which have OT services. We're able to integrate them in as well, again, to have that full end-to-end picture of what's going on. And as you can see in the box in the middle, everything stays within the environment, but everything feeds into that environment for true transparency for the end customer and also the partner. And this really changes the dynamic of how SOCs operate, rather than all the data being provided to the MSSP and the customer being a little bit in the blind in regards to what's going on. This way, the customer is able to actually see everything as it works. They can use the tools to investigate if that's what they want, all live 24/7, which is really, really good. Now, on the bottom right-hand side, you can actually see both teams working together rather than, as again, that outsource kind of view. Of course, if you wanted to outsource, of course you can, but really the idea here is for true transparency and also control between both the customer and also the partner as well. Next slide, please. To go through it in a slightly different lens, as I said, this provides data sovereignty through their tenant, their controls, transparency, and expertise. Security Insight automates the deployment, platform updates, intelligence, and response powered by Microsoft Sentinel within the customer's environment. And the other really cool thing is that if you do partner with a SOC provider, whether that be with LAB3 or someone else who uses Security Insight, it actually enables them to be able to perform the investigations, not just on the SIEM, but also across all the other Microsoft security services. So no longer are they just getting the ticket, just passing it over the fence and hoping for the best. No, now they're actually going through across the whole environment, reducing the amount of noise, reducing the amount of response time for customers, really providing a much more secure experience for our customers. Next slide, please. So to go through a little bit of a demo, and I get it, this is not a full demo here, but something which looks a little bit different is I've got a few slides which will show just how simple this is to do. And on this slide, it shows how to deploy and update the environment. So the first step is you click, to run the Security Insight setup program, you just run a PowerShell script. So very, very simple, just to get the basics all configured. And that will configure your Azure DevOps environment and also apply the base Security Insight configuration. Next slide, please. And then essentially to update it, you just rerun the pipeline. It just updates the modules, deploys in the test, allows you to promote into dev and then also production as well, which is really, really awesome. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Anthony, it surely can't be that simple. You're right. There is actually a step in the middle of that, which goes, hey, if you want other custom integrations, such as I said, multi-cloud, etc., you just got to add those modules in. And as you saw on an earlier slide, it's pretty much only 3 or 4 lines per those particular modules. So it's not very, very complicated. But if all you wanted to do was integrate the base Sentinel environment, have basic SOAR, basic dashboards, yes, it really is this simple. And to update it as well, it will automatically be able to subscribe and pull those updates from our server, provided you have a license, to be able to deploy that in your environment too. So really, really cool. If you click the next slide, please. On this, you can actually start to see the different steps that it goes through. This actually changes the whole dynamic of how security services are deployed. You don't have to deploy it into production first. You can actually test it in dev. Now, that's pretty much unheard of in the security industry. Typically, you always got to deploy into prod because you only got one security environment. But hey, because you're doing things by code now, you can actually deploy in dev first and then promote to prod. Now, why would you want something like that? You might want something like that because, well, as you start to automate particular functions and actions that happen post-deployment, well, you probably want to test it first before you maybe potentially block all of the C-suite. So again, this does provide you that extra level of control, but most important, governance over what's being deployed in your environment and why and by who as well, which is really, really good. Next slide, please.
So wait, Anthony, just recap again. How many steps did you say take all up to do that deployment?
Yeah, good question. It's literally about 5 steps to have it deployed. Everything from copy paste the PowerShell script in, hit the enter key, you got to put your subscription in there plus a special key to be able to get it all deployed, and then it's pretty much all good to go. Now, there might be a few additional steps if you have custom integrations, but more or less it's about 5 steps.
5 steps.
Super simple, making it really, really easy for customers to be able to onboard Sentinel. And again, the big difference here is that it's not just integrating your native sources and then hoping that you tick all the other boxes. This brings everything into your environment, a full function SIEM powered by Microsoft Sentinel with all the bells and whistles as well.
That's so awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Next slide, please. So I just want to give you a bit of a snippet about what the security posture visibility is like. And this can very easily be customized based on different customer requirements. But the short of it is that No longer are you just having a look at the incident count going, I think we're secure, but hey, we got a lot of incidents. You actually have detailed insight in regards to what is influencing the amount of incidents that you have, whether that be the amount of devices that you have, which ones are in compliance, where you're trending, the amount of users that are logging in. All these different metrics are simplified and provided back to you live via Microsoft Sentinel, so you can understand, hey, are we doing good today? Or hey, which areas do we need to improve on as well? Again, really making it easier for customers to go, hey, how can we improve our security posture? Rather than just guessing and turning on the things that look shiny and pretty as well. Next slide, please. And to show you a little bit of an example of how the SOAR works is in this particular screenshot, you can actually start to see a incident where which was raised because it saw that we were logged in from a Tor exit node powered by a threat intelligence, which is great. But what you may or may not be able to see is, I know the text is small, is that within a 3-minute period, it was able to investigate to go, cool, the associated entities are okay, nothing fraudulent. Yes, the IP address that was logged in is a known bad IP, both a Tor exit node and associated with other crimes. Where this person is logged into, which was suspicious because multiple different locations in a very short period. And then what you can't see, I think at the very top, is that it tried to automatically block the particular user. In this case, did it was the dev environment. But again, this all happened with automation, but with 100% transparency to the particular tenant that this was deployed in as well. Again, really reducing the amount of noise, but also reducing the amount of investigation time required by this particular customer's environment as well. Next slide, please. And we really do make investigations easy. Don't get me wrong, Microsoft does a great job selling how easy Microsoft Sentinel is to deploy, and it is really easy to deploy. But we've done the hard work for you in regards to packaging different investigation tools, whether it be this one, which you can actually see how quick and easy it is to actually investigate a particular user. It's able to show you where Anthony, I think it's me, has been over the past 90 days, the different locations I've been in, where I've taken the devices, which devices I use to interact with data, where I've escalated my privileges, and what incidents are associated with me as well. So again, we've got a whole bunch of tools and investigation things, which again are also deployed within customers' environments through the use of automation. Everything that you've seen so far in this presentation is deployed with that automation that I said at the start. And Neela asked the question in regards to how long it takes. It takes 3 minutes. And the best thing about it is that it's not just about the run. I really want to leave you with a view that this is actually about the ongoing upkeep of the particular environment by reducing the response time, response effort, and ongoing support effort as well to enable customers with their smaller teams, which I know are overworked, especially in the security environment, to focus on what's important to be able to keep them safe as well. Next slide, please. Just to come back at the start, just in case you missed the first slide, the focus of this is to get ahead of the threats, to reduce the response time, increase the collaboration ecosystem, so bringing in all the different Microsoft services, but also multi-cloud and other security services too. Increase the ongoing security posture, powered by Insight, which is performing your lifecycle management of Microsoft Sentinel. Next slide, please. And if you're interested, the way that LAB3 works with our customers is everything from the, hey, thank you for doing today's presentation. So you've learned a little bit about us, which is great. But we actually walk through customers with a bit of a questionnaire to understand how can we fast start you and accelerate your adoption and help you plan for the future. Come back and about a week or so later going, hey, this is what we think your deployment will look like, how much your ingestion will be, what the requirements are on your side. And then literally within a few weeks, you can have a fully deployed SIEM experience within your environment, either managed by you or us, up to you guys as well. But we've really condensed the requirements of being able to deploy SIEMs because of the power provided by Sentinel, because it's powered by API, rather than the traditional SIEM deployments, which sometimes can take up to multiple years as well. Just to tell you a bit of a customer story, many of our wins have actually come out of us talking to our customers, and they might go, look, we've invested a lot of money into our existing SIEM, etc. And I go, well, how long have you spent? And true story, one of the big entertainment companies in Australia, they go, well, we've been working on it for 3 years. And I go, well, how has it been? They go, well, it's not finished yet. And I said, well, you let us have the Pepsi challenge, and in 3 weeks, we'll have it deployed for you. And they go, sure, we've got nothing to lose. It's taken us 3 years to do that, and you say you can do it in 3 weeks. Fair enough. They're now fully migrated over to Microsoft Sentinel because it was that easy to be able to integrate. And again, that easy to be able to get the benefits for the response as well. Next slide, please. This is just a quick snapshot, which I think you can click, and you might not be able to click, but hey, these are all the people which you can get in touch with in regards to if you have any questions for this as well. Obviously, hi there, I'm Anthony Wales myself, but we have everyone from the product owner, partner development manager, channel sales executive, head of partnerships, and also head of client engagements if you have any further questions. Back to you guys. I think we've got questions. Any questions in the chat?
I might ask a couple of questions, Anthony, first before we open to the floor, if that's okay.
No problem. Go for it.
So my first question is, can you tell me how you help customers manage their alert stream and their incident stream? So once everything's been deployed, so what happens? You've done the deployment. What happens day 2?
Yeah, great question. So as I said, in the delivery process, there's a subsequent 3 weeks, which we sit down with customers to be able to tune. Now that's because customers need, they might not 100% understand what to expect and what's coming forward. So we actually sit down with customers to go, hey, look, where are the surprises, where are things that we can help fix up, and we spend a few weeks to be able to actually tune that. Separately to that, what happens after is that we start to enable more and more of the automated functions to again be able to reduce the noise, but even be able to reduce the effort to investigate as well. This typically can't be done prior to the delivery because again, we have to understand how the environment's going to react once you get all those particular things in. But the short way to answer that question is that we assess the environment post in order to understand, hey, where we can tune. And because the environment's very flexible, we're able to help tune it to their requirements to reduce the noise and effort as well.
That's great. That's a great approach. Fine tune it as you go along so you know what you're looking for. It's perfect. Thank you for that answer. And then my second question is, can you give me an insight into what LAB3 is doing globally? Like, what's your presence? What are you doing at a global scale? Because we have a global audience here.
Yeah, good question. So I'll answer it twofold. So globally, LAB3 sell a lot of our different products and services to many multinational organizations. But we also do have a presence across through Azure Marketplace, where a lot of people do consume our particular offerings as well. More focused on the security side. As I said, a lot of these services can be purchased via as an ISV, which we do sell to our particular partners as well, where we have key global strategic partners who are actually reselling these services for their customers as well. So the idea here is that, hey, look, we really want to make sure that everyone can receive a lot of these benefits, and we do have a way of being able to consume that, both via our Azure Marketplace or also through our ISV channel arm as well. Yeah.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hand back to the team. If there's any questions on the floor?
Yeah, I've actually got a pretty common question which most people ask me, which is in regards to, data retention, how much it's going to cost. At the end of the day, it's always about how much it's going to cost, right? So really the way that we handle that is we do it in a twofold approach. You got to remember, you get a lot of benefits, free ingestion, and also free storage as well for all services, but free ingestion for all the Microsoft, or most of the Microsoft services. The second part is that you also get free storage for the first 90 days as well. So the approach that we take with customers is that we'd actually ingest all the logs at the start. And I get it, this sounds expensive, I get it. But it's really to assess, hey, how much of the free goodness do we get, which is awesome. And then out of the stuff that's costing us money, that's when LAB3 will work with customers in order to be able to pass, filter, tune to optimize that in order to make sure that it's most efficient for customers as well. So when you really do look sometimes at the raw cost, when you just do a P times Q of the overall rate, that's actually the wrong number to be looking at, because you will get significant discounts or free ingestion for a lot of those particular sources. And then beyond that, LAB3 is able to tune and pass those particular data points to further optimize those costs as well. Cool. Sorry, were there any other questions from the larger group? No? Awesome. If that's the case, as I said on the previous slides, definitely feel free to be able to reach out to me via LinkedIn or via the email, which I think is going to be provided. But definitely, as you can see on this slide here, the Microsoft team would love feedback in regards to how this went. And you can also find other content on the greater YouTube channel as well.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Nina. And moreover, thank you everyone for joining us today and learning more about the solutions available on Azure Cloud and how to accelerate and improve your security posture with with Security Insight. As usual, we'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know what you appreciate today and what topics you would like to hear next. And you will be able to find this session and as well as all our previous and future sessions on our YouTube channel. Right. As mentioned at the beginning, this is the second session of our series of Azure Partner Fest, running all the way to mid-April. So if you haven't done so, please register for the upcoming sessions, including next week's sessions on SkyTab and the solution to migrate AS400 applications on the Azure Cloud. Thank you, everyone.